All right, everybody, welcome back. Season 2 officially starts today. The 2022 Pittsburgh Steelers season is almost upon us. And myself, Jeremy Hritz, alongside the Jim Wexell, are here to bring it in season 2. Jim, how are you doing today?
I'm great, but now you're the Jeremy Hritz because you're a seasoned veteran on the beat. Jeremy's great adventure.
And a great adventure it was. We're going to get into that in today's episode. This past weekend, starting on Thursday, I had an opportunity to go out to Latrobe, hang out with Jim and the beat writers. Got to see practices. It was a tremendous experience. We're going to talk about all of that and also about what's been transpiring in training camp as the Steelers prepare for their first preseason contest next Saturday. Jim, there's so much to talk about. Where do we start?
Okay, well, you missed Friday Night Lights in downtown Latrobe, the bus ride, as Mike Tomlin called it. The reason he likes it is because it's a yellow bus ride. Okay, you sat on that yellow bus for a good hour under a rainstorm. You heard us banter. You saw the coach call off the two football players who were sitting on the bus because he heard Wolfley was on there. Because of lightning hazards that Mr. Wolfley and his gene pool present. We just kid Wolf about that. But so you didn't get to take the bus ride downtown, experience Friday Night Lights, but you experienced practice at St. Vincent College up close. You experienced interviews. You were in with Mike Tomlin's press conference, Deontay Johnson's press conference after the signing. You went to Sharky's. You after the big rainstorm, they called off practice at St. Vincent College to go down to the south side. And I assumed we were going to go indoors, but it was outdoors. And you checked out the indoor facility and you watched practice outside, watched some interviews, saw it all up close, got to know not only the beat writers, but the players. You were closer with the players, and I don't know that any of us get to know them totally, but anyway, I'm interested in your takes instead of my takes this time around.
Well, first, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity. I'm super grateful for it. But man, it was a surreal experience for me. Being the Steelers nerd that I am, and as much as I read about the team, to be around the beat writers, getting to meet.
What a disappointment that must have been.
No, it wasn't a disappointment. Like Mike Frazuta, Labs, Mark Caboli, I mean, all those guys. And the one thing that really stood out to me is just how well everybody gets along, at least on the surface. It almost seemed like a fraternity where you guys are just constantly busting each other's stones, getting on each other. And when we were on that school bus waiting to go over to St. Vincent's, it was disgustingly hot. It was like a locker room. The windows were all fogged up, but from beginning until the end, we got off that bus. It was just playful back and forth with each other. It was cool to see that camaraderie amongst all of you. And I was just kind of the fly on the wall, taking it all in. So
it's funny how we seem to have a reputation for squabbling all the time, because I think people look at a couple of Twitter fights here and there, and hey, not everybody in Pittsburgh was in the media at St. Vincent. So you guys may see squabbling between people who are never there and people who are there. So I'm wondering if that's why you're surprised that we got along, because of that Twitter reputation that seems to be out there.
Yeah, I think it's that. And then just also too, like you have, I guess, competing organizations, my site versus this site, or this publication versus this publication. But it really is just, hey, we're all here for the common cause of covering the team. And
well, let me temper you on that, because the players look at us like that too. Mm-hmm. We are an entity that comes in masse and hits them, and you hope there's mutual respect among the reporters. And there are incidents that may come up where you would hope the other reporter follows another reporter who may be getting abused or picked on to some degree. But it's really not that way.
Mm-hmm.
It really is separate entities.
Mm-hmm.
We are not on the same team. The fact that you have the feeling that the players have that we are on the same team,
Mm-hmm.
probably because we keep it professional and polite and civil as much as we can. So, yes. But we are not on the same team. We are competing.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, you guys are funny.
Some of the guys are really funny.
Oh my God. And when we went to Sharky's, which is a local establishment there in Latrobe, I think I laughed from the moment that we got there until I left. So what was the gentleman's name? I can't even.
Jaskolski, Anthony.
Jaskolski. He was
he was rip roaring that night. And, you know, we were with Nick Faribaugh and Chris Carter and I shouldn't have started naming them. If I leave anyone off, there was a photographer there for DK. Everybody was nice. It was fun.
Yeah.
You were there. You had your input. You're quiet. We're trying to open you up a little bit more.
Like I said, I'm the fly on the wall.
Well, that's smart. That's only smart.
Yeah, that's right.
So I respect that. You were just learning and taking it all in. And Labs came by and Pursuta and Dale Lawley and, all those guys were in and out. So it was a lot of fun. It was.
Yeah. And then from the game perspective, just seeing the players up close, I wrote about this morning on my site, but just the one thing that stood out was Mike Tomlin, just how engaged he is with the team. He was moving around that field constantly, checking in with all the different players, even special teams. They're working on a punt blocking drill. And just some of his Tomlinisms that come out on the field. I think he was saying opportunity and technique. That's where they meet, opportunity. And he just kept saying it over and over, or run it back if he wanted to see, players compete against each other, and just seeing how professional the guys were and how they approach the game. I mean, they're there to work and they love it. Now I know it's early in camp and I'm sure as it slogs on, they'll probably get worn down, but just the enthusiasm of the players, you can tell that they're ready to go for a new season.
Actually, Jeremy, the hard part's over. That first half are what I call the dog days. Now, the reporters start getting tired in week 3 and 4. They call it the dog days then. And I don't think they speak for the players because now the games start.
Yeah.
And they're becoming engaged in a little bit of game playing, a little bit of more offense versus scout team, as opposed to offense 1 versus defense 1.
Right.
Those are really difficult practices. It's a game every day. Yeah. Now it's more working on what we need to improve against some dummy defense that we see on film. Right. And you put the backups out there to run that dummy defense, the look team.
Yeah.
And so you have more of that, and it becomes more of a professional routine, and they're getting in the routine. So it becomes less the dog days. We just passed the 2-week mark. Now the preseason begins. And if you were there with us, you would know, oh boy, there's more days off now. It's nice. Mm-hmm. And less fierceness on the field, and the weather starts to abate a little bit.
Yeah.
But speaking of the Tomlin flowing and, being fluid and bouncing in and out, I would say to you, okay, Jeremy, let's go over to the far field. There's an underrated drill that I like to watch. It should be going on over at camp, and really nobody's paying attention to it. What seal the edge was one time, and linebackers and safeties covering running backs and tight ends one-on-one. Whereas, Kenny Pickett and the offense, I say Kenny Pickett in the offense because to the fans, it's Kenny Pickett in the offense,
right?
Throwing to George Pickens and everyone else. And they're doing 7-on-7s in front of the fans. Everybody thinks that's what we need to watch. No, let's go to the far field. Let's go watch the linebackers cover tight ends. Sure enough, there's Mike Tomlin, And so you say to yourself, I must be in the right place because Tomlin's here at this juncture. So a lot of that was fun, and I hope you learned a lot. I hope I wasn't too impatient. I'm sometimes impatient with young reporters. You were fine. You were great. But I don't like to waste time. Just like coaches. Hey, let's get over there. Business. Yeah.
Hey, I in case you didn't know, viewers, that Jim is also a driving coach. And he helped me navigate my way to the Southside facility safely. So I'm very thankful for that.
Well, you make it sound like I'm a backseat driver, which I'm not, and I may have been more so only because you said my wife says I'm a terrible driver. I'm like, uh-oh.
True story.
So I was alerted falsely. You're a fine driver. I did not need to be on alert. So I would say, don't do this, don't do that. I know where the dangerous parts of Route 30 are.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's no need to be driving in the fast lane.
Right.
So anyway,
Yeah.
I don't want to be, your driving was fine. You just had me a little, my antenna, you put my antenna up for no real good reason.
Hey, well, we're safe, and here we are. And let's shift the discussion to training camp and what's been transpiring. And we'll start with the position that everybody is talking about, and that's the quarterback position. What have you seen so far? What's the pecking order that you feel has been established, and what are you looking for this coming Saturday against the Seahawks?
Yesterday, I thought, and we're not allowed to report on what we saw at yesterday's closed practice down Pittsburgh, but I will say that was the best quarterbacking day I've seen. All three. I thought all three showed their niche. I believe Mitch looks to have taken command of the starting position. He's been given every opportunity to do so, and he has. What limited opportunities Mason Rudolph has had to be the number one. Very limited opportunities. I thought he failed on his 2-minute drill, which could have been something for him the one day. And also he throws a beautiful deep ball, but he seems to check down quicker than others. And hey, working with the second team, maybe he has to. And he hasn't thrown an interception. And all what he does is more safe and more sound. And it just strikes me as filling the niche of the backup, the quality backup to come in and not make mistakes. So he kind of fulfilled a legacy, fulfilled a, what am I trying to say? It just seems he fulfilled the spot that he doesn't want to fulfill, but it seems like that's where he belongs now as the number two. Pickett it's shown some great strides from that first week. He's throwing some really bad interceptions. In the spring, he threw a really bad interception running the 2-minute offense. And so those sudden and abrupt rookie mistakes, coaches are just, they love the raw skills he's showing and the improvement he's made, but there still looms the rookie mistake that can be made at any time that I don't see him being a factor in the first up till the bye, let's say. And perhaps during a bye week, he gets another chance, or there's an injury or things happen. But that is the natural progression right now. I see it. I don't see any reason to force Pickett into this. Now, he's 24 years old. Yes, there's no reason to rush the timetable just because he's 24. And don't take that as a meaning that he needed every one of those 5 years at Pitt to prove that he's an NFL draftable player, and to rely on that and to use that as a negative when assessing his abilities. He's got the talent, he's got the skills. Just let this thing flow naturally. You have Mason for 1 more year. You have Trubisky under 2 years. I only say Trubisky over Mason because I thought Trubisky turned it around late in the week with the 2-minute drill. When they installed the 2-minute drill, and he marched them down and scored, whereas Mason marched them down and on the last play did not score. Made a bad play. He should have known he was out of time, and to throw the ball away showed that he lacked the instinct to know there was no throwing that ball away. That even if it's an interception, you have to put that thing in play, let your guy have a chance because you're out of time.
Yeah.
There was no more time.
Right.
You can't throw it away and get another snap, even though he had another snap. It wasn't 4th down, but it was 0 on the clock. Should have known that. So you say, that's not a mistake Mason should be making in his 5th year. And he hasn't been making those mistakes. But then with the spotlight was on him, he did make that mistake. Yeah. So he has to overcome that. And guess what? Preseason games are coming, which are more important than all of this anyway.
Yeah.
So he will have another chance. But to me, it looks like Trubisky. And Trubisky had another good day yesterday and completed the 2-minute drill. And the beauty of yesterday is the quarterbacks performed well enough in a hailstorm.
Yes. Pretty fierce.
It was fierce. And as you and I, we ran for cover under the rain. And I remember saying to you and to two others who were stranded with us, it's only water. We will get soaked.
Right.
And our cars will get wet. But what's the big deal? We didn't want to. So now we were on the sideline, perfect sideline seats for that, 7 shots.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the perfect sideline seats. It was a long way back to the shelter of not getting rained on. It's already pouring, so we're here. Hide your notebooks so they don't get all crushed and runny. All the notes you've made all camp, you don't want them to run. So, and then the stinging started hitting our necks and our eyes. It was getting in our eyes, even though the wind was blowing in our backs.
Yeah,
it was getting. Well, you could see even DJ came to the sideline under his visor. He's like, man, stuff's getting in my eyes. And I think I said to you, is this hail? And you're like, I think it is.
Yeah.
And when I asked Pickett after, I said, was that a hailstorm? He goes, I think it was. I heard it on my helmet. It was either real hard rain or light hail.
Mother Nature was pissed off this weekend. Sure.
I don't know about that. That's a little harsh on Mother Nature, but it was something for all the quarterbacks had to deal with it. And for the most part, it seemed like, there were no turnovers or no slip balls. Pickett had one chance, he threw in it, and Vaughn's the number 80, the tall receiver from USC, he's a first-year player, was in Colts camp for a couple practice weeks or something. I thought he juggled the ball as he was going out of bounds, but there were refs there and they gave him the score. We couldn't write down what was happening. Mm-hmm. So I don't have exactly what happened with me, but I do know it seemed like all quarterbacks functioned ably.
I would have to agree with you. The quarterback play from Thursday till the Saturday practice, it was much improved. It was pretty crisp, and it seemed like the players were fired up to be playing in the elements in the rain. So that was exciting to see as well. How about sticking on that the offensive side of the ball? I know we got an opportunity to watch some of those one-on-ones with the offensive lineman going up against the defensive lineman. I know that the O-line last year really was what hindered this offense in terms of the running game, pass protection. Dan Moore is a player who had a nice couple days of camp and really has been having a nice camp as well. Whereas Kendrick Green, we really haven't seen him take that step this year so far. Any thoughts on the offensive line that you'd like to share?
Well, I think you nailed it with Dan Moore. They do have now a decades-long starter at left tackle, in my opinion. He's made strides from last year. The guys who know about left tackle play, such as Max Starks, are highly impressed. And not that they thought he was a bad player last year. He was a rookie. He was a rookie left tackle who went through 17 games and got experience. Great experience. Knew what he had to work on in the offseason, worked on it, is not only more confident as a pass blocker, but is more aggressive as a run blocker. So you're getting the best of both worlds at left tackle. Sometimes you're just happy to accept a pass blocker at left tackle. Mm-hmm. But it looks like they have both in that player. And out of the 4th round, a great find. Now they don't have to deal with left tackle. The hope is for 10, 15 years even. Sorry. Kevin Dotson looks like the left guard, in my opinion. I know he's alternating with Kendrick Green, but it looks like he's over the switch from the right side where he played his entire life. Mm-hmm. You interview him, he doesn't even want to discuss that because I'm a left guard. I don't know what you're talking about. He just says that, but it's I can't afford to think that way, he says, because I am a left guard and I have to do it. And he looks like he's doing it. Mm-hmm. I know he's still rotating with Kendrick Green. Now, Mason Cole gets beat in pass pro sometimes. Even James Daniels gets beat in pass pro sometimes. The individual skill, however, is all there. Now it's all got to be put together, and that's the next step. So I'm hoping they make their decision at left guard soon enough. I've seen these things play out. The coaches don't seem to panic as much as the media. What about chemistry? What about chemistry? they'll downplay the chemistry as they're still looking for the right piece, and they don't want to make a mistake on naming that right piece at left guard. So, and then, when it's a different circumstance, they'll tell you they need chemistry. Coaches will use whatever they need to use on the media. But I would like to see them choose that left guard and get on with the next process of melding these individual talents, because that could be an issue. They seem to have upgraded all the individual pieces. Now they have to meld.
Right. Should be an improved unit. And shifting over to the skill positions, running back, tight end, wide receiver, there were some highlights from a lot of players. I thought the tight end group just across the board, even without Pat Freiermuth, was super impressive. I know I always go to the undrafted guys, there's guys deep on the roster. Jalen Warren had some nice plays. Anthony McFarland, who I've been highly critical of, really put together 2 great days of practice that I got to see. And the wide receiver group, Gunnar Olszewski, right? I got it right.
Yeah, very good.
Here we go. You ever seen Varsity Blues, a movie back from 90?
I have, but I don't remember much of it.
He reminds me of Tweeter from Varsity Blues. That's my name for Tweeter, but that he was getting after it. But talk about the skill position, what you've seen so far in camp there.
Oh my gosh, all these younger guys are getting so much opportunity because these superstars are out. It's great because we know Najee's going to be able to run the ball. We know Freiermuth can play. Claypool, he showed signs of improving. I mean, he could play already. And DJ, you throw DJ into that. He is a very valuable, underrated. I think he's underrated. And thankful the Steelers are fortunate that their coaching staff and front office did not underrate him. It was a great signing. It was a great move by him to come back. He's a great kid. He's not the prima donna wide receiver type that we've become accustomed to covering in this league, and accepting. It's a great deal. Don't get me wrong, but he accepted less per than what was being given out to Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf. I just use Deebo Samuel. He's an example of a guy that deserves what he got. And I don't know that DJ was worthy of that yet, but still has the chance to prove it. So this short deal was just perfect in all aspects. But it took DJ to swallow his pride and not be that ego-centric kind of wideout that we've seen so often, to accept this. And then he's in the cafeteria, humble as could be. Just a good kid. I'm getting to know him better. I'm more impressed each time I either run into him or hear him talk or watch him play. At first practice, I believe you were there when he caught that first one-on-one deep ball, ran past Akella Witherspoon, and he ran that unbelievable curl route and got open. That was an example of what he can do on 3rd and 6. Yeah. He can get you 7 for sure. He will get open. And that's a critical piece, an underrated piece. And the Steelers have locked that up. And now a guy like Pickens can be left alone, hey, we can say what we want about that secondary. There are dogs in that secondary, and they were hounding Pickens when he was without Claypool and DJ and Freiermuth and Najee. Yes. So, look, and so Pickens had to learn what it's like to be a true number 1.
Yeah.
and the other guys, Calvin Austin, great strides. This is no Dree Archer.
No.
This is a legitimate guy. There's not going to be enough balls to go around. If the quarterback can keep up, that's going to be the key, And as we watched, the quarterback play was lifted my spirits. And of course, I'm not a fan. So really, it doesn't matter to me. But you know what I mean? The starter looked like a starter. Mason's going to be a quality veteran backup. And Pickett's got the tools and showing promise to be that number 1 guy this town will crave in a couple of years. Yeah. All looking good.
Yeah.
And I didn't even mention Gunner. Gunner's my favorite.
Gunner.
I'm not calling him Tweeter. It's a better name than Gunner.
Gunner's good, but he's Tweeter. Go back and watch Varsity Blues. It's Tweeter. He's literally, I was watching him on, I'm like, this guy is the character from Varsity Blues. Okay. It's Tweeter.
Okay.
There we go. You got the general last year.
You know what? Tweeter's not going to work. It's too many people like the name Gunner. That's his real name. That was his given name, Gunner. So
He's a
hey,
beast.
good luck with your new nickname venture.
Oh man, yeah. And the tight ends, I think I was most impressed by the tight ends offensively. And there was a lot of good that was, going on in practices, but Zach Gentry, I mean, he assumed the number one with Freiermuth being out. I don't think he dropped the ball. And Connor Hayward, oh my God, I think he's going to be a gamer and going to contribute, not a ton of snaps, but I think he has potential to contribute right away.
He is a gamer, isn't he?
Yeah.
It really applies to him.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's your nickname, Gamer.
Gamer.
But there's another guy. He's Little Head. How are you going to stop calling him Little Head? I mean, the players. I don't think the media is going to be allowed to do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I would touch that nickname.
Yeah, but he's a cool dude. He's a hard worker, and Tom was very interested in his development. You can see that he's blocking. We saw that.
Yeah.
And we see his sweet hands all the time. He's just not that tall. He's not that tall tight end. He's going to be what do they call it? Swiss Army knife on offense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Jay Sternberger, I kept turning to you and saying, look at 85. He can run.
He caught everything thrown his way.
He before you came, he had a few drops, that untimely drops, and people, I think some in the media just kind of wrote him off. But he was a highly regarded tight end coming out of Texas A&M. Mm-hmm. And he has some talent. I only bring him up because he's like the fourth or fifth guy. That's how deep that tight end room is. And Raider, we know Raider can block.
Yeah.
Man, he's going up and snagging balls. He was a big part of Mason Rudolph's 2-minute offense the other day. Went up and snared a ball out of the air. He can catch.
Yeah.
And so, there's some interesting tight ends too. And Derek Watts, I think you consider Derek Watt in that group too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see this whole team on the field healthy week 1 in Cincinnati. There is a lot of talent there. It's going to come down to O-line play and quarterback play. They could take advantage of those pieces. Shifting over defensive side of the football, I thought just in these 2 days of practice and I've heard prior to, coming in to see camp in person, that the defense has really been the dominant unit. I thought it was the opposite. I felt like the offense outplayed the defense. Again, you can't put too much stock into a few practices, but just looking at the defense, who stood out to you and any players that you feel have maybe taken a step back?
Well, Minka hasn't practiced, and Casey has looked good in his place. He looks like a veteran depth piece, so he's getting a lot of time. And behind him, Trey Norwood has looked a lot more physical this year, and he looks like he's going to be a dime back in the other slot. Cam Sutton is the corner leader and a nickelback, and he was injured, and it looks like he's going to be okay. So that worry has passed. Akello, I believe what we saw at the end of last year was Akello, and he's showing some of that. You're going to miss Joe Hayden. Inside linebacker still remains a question. You hope that Miles Jack, he's one of those take Wednesday off guys because of a knee. And it still as a young man, you hope that doesn't become an issue. But he looks like all that he's cracked up. His reputation has preceded him, and he looks like he's fulfilling that. Devin, if Miles Jack can be the thumper that we all hope he is, and Devin can use his speed and be a complementary piece instead of trying to become the thumper everyone wants him to be because of his high draft position. And Spillane will step in and out for both of those two. So there's some depth there. I believe, no, you weren't with me when I watched the linebackers cover. Ulysses Gilbert can really cover. So fluid, so fast. He can run with just about anybody. I'm waiting for him to get more time. And hey, man, I don't know. He could get cut for all I know, but he just impresses me with his coverage skills. So there's that. Who else you got? Buddy Johnson, I haven't seen much yet. And I believe there's another young linebacker.
Mark Robinson.
Right, Mark Robinson. He shows signs that you want to keep him around, even if it's on a practice squad. I don't know that there's going to be a spot for him because we're starting to name a lot of names.
Yeah.
They may have to keep an extra guy on offense with all those names we mentioned. But I believe, you can keep seventh rounders. I don't know that they showed that much in preseason. Whereas if a team passed on them 7 times in the draft, they're suddenly going to put him on their active roster without having him practice with them.
Yeah.
I think those are safe, like Oladokin at quarterback. I knew right away he was a practice squad candidate, and that's what they look like they're grooming him for. They're not giving him anything at camp other than sideline mechanics work with the quarterback's coach.
Right.
He's not getting, he may have gotten a couple reps, but nothing more. He's got practice squad written all over. And the rest of the defense, I'm not sure where we want to go. Of course, it's run stuffing up front. Tyson Alualu's knee was bothering him in the spring. I noticed that. He was in and out of the trainer room. So that's still the defensive tackle spot there with the run stopping issue. Yeah.
And then outside linebacker, we had an opportunity to watch the outside backers versus the tight ends. The backers are trying to set the edge for the run. That was a great drill to watch. Getting to see Derek Tuska, who we were talking about him in the first day of practice. It seems like he's more of a speed rush guy, but he has a lot of trouble setting the edge against the run. But Delonte Scott, he's had a nice camp at outside backer.
A lot of things he's doing well. He doesn't get many reps in scrimmage, but and it could be another example of Jameer Jones, where we watch a guy in a drill ragdoll an experienced veteran tight end, and then they end up cutting him 1 week or 2 weeks into the season, not even put him on the practice squad. They get exposed in some way. But you're right, Delonte Scott, tall, outside edge guy who's very physical. I remember watching him. He actually ragdolled Zach Gentry. Mm-hmm. Zach's not going to like me saying that, but it was just a drill. Delonte ragdolled him. It was the last rep, so they both walked off. Zach couldn't get his shoulder pads, and Delonte's fixing his not only wrecked him, helped him pick them up and fixed him. And Zach's a big guy to be fixing, so it was a bad rep for Zach. It doesn't define him by any means. It may define Delonte Scott to a degree. That's a guy to keep your eye on. I like him as a potential practice squad guy to keep an eye on. But Tuzar Skipper's back, so all our worries are for naught. James Harrison was cut 3 times, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Tuzar, good old Tuzar.
Well, Jannard Avery, showing some speed. I think he's the number 3 guy. You like Tuska. Smart football people I talk to like Tuska. So what I think of Tuska does not mean much. I just don't see much there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah. Speaking of Avery, I mean, his body, his frame is unique. It's real compact. He's not built like James Harrison, but he's shorter. So he's going to have that leverage to get underneath some of those bigger tackles, and he'll be in that rotation for the pass rush this season.
Right.
All right, Jim, we covered a lot. Anything else that you want to hit on before we wrap up the first show of season 2?
Man, there could be a lot of things we could hit on. I'm more interested in you're the fresh eyes there. You're the guy that kept his mouth shut and watched and learned. I'm interested in your final wrap. What do you have to say about all this?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm looking at the team and what I saw over those 2 days, again, I felt like the offense really outplayed the defense. I mentioned the tight ends. I really was impressed by Zach Gentry. See, I'm going to miss Jace. It's Jace, not JC.
Oh, yeah. Hey, it could be JC. I just assumed it was Jace.
Well, you always get on me for mispronouncing things. I got to check myself. But he caught everything. Connor Hayward, again, I think that unit with Pat Freiermuth, they're going to have some tough decisions to make. And then you have Kevin Rader there at the bottom of the depth chart. But
I don't know that he's at the bottom. I'll disagree with you on that.
Okay. They're just going to have a tough decision to make there. And then I look at the running back position, Najee, he's got his foot injury right now. Unfortunately, Benny Snell's getting all the carries as the number 2 back. He's average. Didn't see much from him, but a guy like Jaylen Warren a lot of promise there if he can somehow make the squad. And Anthony McFarland, just his burst and those 2 catches that he made on Thursday, where he just they were combat catches where the I think it was Miles Jack was covering on one of those plays, and he caught the ball, I think, over top of Jack.
Yeah, right. You got all of that right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So just super impressed there. Dan Moore, you know, I don't think I'm saying anything that you didn't say. He just looked like an animal out there. Kendrick Green was disappointed. He's still continuing to get bull rushed, and it wasn't just one time, it was multiple times over those few practices that we saw, you know. So I think Kevin Dotson's got the leg up there. I wanted to, so I coined a term here. So you're talking about the quarterbacks earlier. Mason Rudolph to me still looks pocket illiterate.
Well,
so
illiterate's pretty strong.
Yeah. So here's my take on it. He's flat-footed. He just doesn't move with the pressure. It doesn't seem like he can feel it. He just seems like he's a stat. I know that sounds cliche that he's a statue, but he just always seems to be flat on his feet. He's not playing on the balls of his feet. So when the pressure is coming, he can't outmaneuver it. But that stood out to me. I stand corrected when it comes to Chris Oladokin. I was projecting him as being the number 3, being in camp, seeing that he was holding the clipboard.
He was holding all 4 clipboards.
Yes, he was. He's definitely the practice squad guy. The thing that I'm having difficulty trying to figure out is, if you drafted Kenny Pickett in the first round, are you really going to sit him on the bench if Mitch Trubisky is not getting it done after 6 games? Are you going to go
quarterback is the position that you do that at. That's why nobody likes to draft a quarterback in the first round. Mm-hmm. It's a developmental position. Mm-hmm. There's a logic about it. He's 24 years old. He has to play now, or you made a huge mistake. That logic is lost on me. Mm-hmm. Quarterback is a difficult draft process to go through. Everybody hates it. That's why Ben Roethlisberger is so valuable to a franchise.
Yeah.
And, you know, if Pickett doesn't prove himself after 2 years, you got to do it again and do it again. It's awful.
Yeah.
And so it's not, oh, he's a first rounder, he has to be the backup. Mason, hey, you know, you have to convince the coaches that you're not going to make that rookie mistake.
Yeah. Yeah. The last thing I'll say is probably the highlight of camp for me was seeing Craig Wolfley take on the skunk and win. That was the
highlight for me was how we mocked him mercilessly on the bus about his lightning plagued family. Mm-hmm. As he walked in the rain, battling the lightning, and then we saw the skunk and we're yelling at him and mocking him and making fun of him. Wolf can take it, so we do that. And he overlooked all of that and came back to pick us up. That's, you know, that restores your faith in humanity. There are beautiful people in this world, and he's one of them. And that was my highlight.
Yeah. Just a great overall experience. And again, listeners, viewers, if you're listening to this on your way to work, if you're watching this on YouTube, we're super grateful that you are viewers of the show. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Give us a like. We're going to be getting after it even harder this year. We are going to take the Steelers Insider podcast, Still City Insider podcast, up a notch. We'll get back on a regular routine here. We'll probably have a show following next week's preseason game. You could check out Jim's work at the Still City Insider. You can give him a follow on Twitter at Jim Wexell. Jim, you got a new book coming out in November. Do you want to talk about that quickly?
Not too much. We're over. That's a way to get our numbers up, is to shorten these babies. You know how they do it. They cut up clips and say, "Oh, Jeremy on what Sharkies was like."
Yeah.
You know? And so make it a 2-minute blurb, and you get way more viewers. But you know, I got a book coming out, On the Clock, Pittsburgh Steelers Draft. It'll come out in November. Pre-orders are being taken by Triumph Publishing, and you can find that on the net. Scroll down my Twitter feed. You'll be able to find that stuff. But I still say the Polamalu book is what every kid should have in his library. The Polamalu biography. Yeah,
I would agree. It is phenomenal. You can check out my work over on thestillstudy.com and give me a follow on Twitter at stillstudy. Again, we are tremendously grateful for all of you. Jim, I hope you have a great Sunday, great rest of the week, and we will see you next weekend sometime for the new edition of the Still City Insider podcast. Take care, everyone.